Hey everybody, my name is Chris Jacobs. I am the customer success lead here at Katana. This video is an in-depth review and overview about how Katana works, its functionalities, and its features. We're going to cover a lot of topics in this video as well, including how to get your data into Katana, adding products, adding materials, adding recipes and operations, utilizing the manufacturing section, utilizing the stock section, and contacts when it comes to customers and suppliers, as well as the sales related features that Katana supports, and understanding how the software can help you lean out your manufacturing operation. Katana as a software is designed mostly for small businesses that are expanding, especially going beyond Excel, where their scalability is limited, and for companies that are not so big that they would require an enormous ERP system. So we kind of fit right here in the middle for companies with small teams and manufacturing supported. So to get started, I would basically say that the very first thing that a new customer will come across in Katana is you're going to log in. You'll be on the sell screen, and on the sell screen you'll have a lot of information in front of you, including demo data, a lot of these different colored boxes that talk about the status of different items, which we'll cover in more detail. And you'll also have a getting started guide. So our getting started guide is actually really useful and really helpful, because understanding that when you coming from Excel background or using another software, getting migrated over and beginning another software is quite a challenging venture to pursue. So we've tried our best to ease this process for some customers, and make it so that way you can get everything you need to get started. So for example, what I'll cover first is Katana has two ways of getting data into it. The most important and critical thing at this stage is to get your products into Katana. So what we have inside of our settings page is our initial data import, where you can download a products and materials template, and you can upload all of your products to this data template and import it directly back into the system. So if you're coming from an Excel background, getting your products in and getting your materials in, the items that you make and the items that you purchase are what you would do from this location when you initially get started. If you don't have data available, or the products available, or maybe you have just a small volume of data that you need to get into Katana, you can add it also manually. Additionally, for companies that operate on e-commerce network like Shopify, you can use the integration that we have here with Shopify to pull your data in from Shopify. So most people have all of their data in Shopify and all their products there as SKUs. Katana, when you connect your store, you can connect your store like this. And what happens is you can pull in all of your customers, all of your products. And if you want to, you can also import your initial stock levels of product. We also enable the opportunity for you to generate an order in Shopify that has custom items which get imported into Katana as a new product. This is quite useful for some of those companies that have these, they might have a standardized set of products, but they also might have special requests for customers. And that happens quite occasionally with a wide number of our customer base. So that's how you would get your data mostly into Katana to get started. So also, while we are here on the integrations page, you can connect your QuickBooks accounts and then select which ledger you wish to send your purchase orders and sales orders to be able to keep track of all of your purchases and sales. That's what our QuickBooks integration enables you to do. Here in the settings page, you can define a lot of the information that's related to your factory. For example, you want to set your default currency. So what currency do you operate all of your costs and sales in? You can select from any number of currencies here as your default. Currently, our system has different units of measure. We support mostly metric and pieces, but you can actually add a custom unit of measure through these sections here as well. You can define tax rates. We have some countries across the world that have very complicated tax systems. So if you have multiple tax rates within your country, you can actually add different custom tax rates within Katana as you operate. I know India is one place that's a bit like this, and they have maybe 5 or 6 different tax rates for different types of product or different types of customers. We've got a categories feature, which allows you to kind of define products and materials into certain classifications. This is also quite useful for people that need to sort and filter through their product and material lists. And you can add custom categories here as well. And also quite useful is our operations section. So you can define operations here and use these operations inside of your product recipes whenever you're defining the ingredients list as well as the bill of materials for those products and how to make them. These operations also account for the production time inside of the product to calculate how much time it takes to make. This is quite useful for your production schedule, and we'll get into that in more detail. Resources are also very valuable. So a lot of customers, they have different resources that are related to their manufacturing processes. These can be a human resource. This can be a machine that is used for manufacturing. This could also be like a workstation that might have different people using it, and the time-based calculation happens from that location. As we have already gone over our integrations and data import, we also have a clear data section that allows you to clear out your account. So a lot of customers will do this whenever they first trial Katana. They test it, then they delete and remove everything that they need to. So to cover the main functionalities of the menus across Katana, we have 7 different screens up here. We have the sell screen, which contains a list of your sales orders, open sales orders, as well as completed sales orders that have been fulfilled. We have the make screen, which is essentially your production schedule. It has a list of all of your manufacturing orders, which are open as well as completed. We also have a tasks view. So if you have people that are working on your workshop team and you're trying to track every operation that needs to be done for the various manufacturing orders, that can be found here. Our buy section has all of your open purchase orders where you can mark them as received or not received. Also, it will show you your completed purchase orders, which send all of your product and materials to stock whenever they are purchased. The stock page, of course, has an enormous amount of information on it. But more specifically, this gives you all of the stock criteria, stock information that talks about the various movements that take place with all of the items that you have in inventory. It also separates them by products and materials. Products being items that you make, materials being items that you purchase. And we also have a stock adjustment section where this will have a historical record of any manual stock adjustments that you have made. Quite often, for example, if you're manufacturing, maybe you use more material than you expected on your recipes, so you come in here and you make a stock adjustment to reduce materials that were consumed but not calculated. Our items page is essentially a full portfolio of all of your products and materials, and it tells a lot of really useful information about them, including the default sales price, cost, profit margin, production time. Our contact section has a full list of your customers and some of their information, as well as a list of your suppliers. The quick add button that we have here, that is a pink circle with a plus sign in it, is a place where you can go at any time while using the app to add various items. For example, sell items, it creates a sales order. A make to stock is whenever you create a manufacturing order. Buy materials is when you purchase or create purchasing orders. Stock adjustment, to adjust levels of different stock items. A new product card, whenever you're adding a new product into the system as well as a new material card when you're adding new material to the system. So that's kind of everything here in a nutshell on the main top menus. Over here on the far right, where you find your factory name as well as your username or your name, if you click on that, you'll have a section where you can invite team members into Katana. So you can go ahead and invite additional users to join your account. These are 19 euros per month per extra user, although the first user is always included. So you can invite team members there, so that way multiple people can access your account. And you can manage your subscription from this page as well. So inside this Katana account, we have a wide variety of demo data that we can use and manipulate to show how Katana works. Before we go into details with that, a lot of the items, which you'll find on our item section, are actually like furniture related items. So what we want to do is, let's say we are going to actually add a new product in Katana, and you're starting to use your account and you want to add some additional items into the account from here. You would go to create a new product card. And what this does is it opens up a product menu where you could specify a certain product that you're going to manufacture. So in our case, we have, let's say we are making stools. You can insert our product name here and call it stool. And the stool that we have, that we make, is made out of wood. It's measured by the piece, and the category falls under maybe chairs. And so that's the basic naming of it. If we have different colors of stools, then we can actually create different variations of that stool. So an example of this would be selecting a variant option by selecting this checkbox here. Yes, the product has multiple variants, and we would go, let's say with different colors, and we would have maybe two different colors, black and beige. And we would generate product variants. So now we have two different types of stools in our product list, and we need to define lots of information regarding these stools. So first off, it would be good to generate a variant code. For example, maybe we would call this STL-BL for black and STL-BG for beige. We could set reorder points of how many items that we need to have in stock. Maybe we have a safety stock level of 10 items, but we need to order additional items once we hit 5 in stock. This way we always have the optimal amount and we don't stock out over time. Default sales price, let's assume that we want to sell those for $50 a piece. $50 a piece. Now you'll see this section here that says ingredients cost and operations cost. Ingredients are defined in the product recipe, and operations are defined in product operations in these two tabs here. So if we go over to the product recipe, this is where we would actually insert materials as ingredients. We could also insert another product as an ingredient. This is because Katana supports what we call subassemblies or semi-finished goods. And in here, let's say that there's going to be basically two components that would make our stools. The first one is wood, which we have in our demo data. And maybe for the wood that it uses, I believe this is done by meters, it would take 4 meters of wood to make that product. Actually, 4 meters is quite a lot. Maybe we will do 1 meter. Perfect. Now, since all of the stools, no matter what color we're talking about, whether it's black or beige, all of them are made from wood, this would apply to every variation, or in this case, every product color. An additional ingredient that we would have is paint, which is also part of our demo data, which we have as black paint here. And it might take, let's see if this is measured in liters. Yeah, 0.1 liters of paint to paint one black stool. So what color product does this apply to? This applies to the black one. The other ingredient we will need is paint, which is beige. And the beige paint also would use the same exact amount, 0.1 liters, but it would only apply to the beige stool. So as you can see, we are actually, as we add these ingredients to the stool, you identify that it actually identifies the stock cost. So the stock cost here is the moving average cost for that amount of these particular ingredients. And we'll go over that in more detail to define exactly how these numbers are calculated. Additionally, inside of the product operations, this is where we will specify the operational process for making this product. So since we have a variety of different options we could choose from, perhaps the first stage is actually cutting the wood. So we would just use our cutting information from the operations section. When we select the cutting operation, we can also define a resource. In this case, we're using like people as resources, and maybe our guy John is the one who runs the cutting machine. We pay John, let's say $10 per hour. The cutting time it takes to make one stool is maybe 1 hour. So then this defines the operation cost for you. And then after this, we have painting. Actually, we'll just call this assembly. Maybe as part of our standard operations, assembly has painting built into it. So let's select assembly, and Mary might be the one who does assembly. We pay her $10 an hour, and it takes her 20 minutes. And then we have the defined total operational cost for this product. So when we go back to our general info, you can now see that an ingredients cost has been calculated, and so has an operations cost as well. Now you see that the ingredients cost is different between black and beige, and this is because obviously our beige paint is more expensive. So now that you've got your first product set up, you might decide that, I forgot to add a certain material into my account. So to add a material, you can go inside of here and create a new material card. One of these material types might be wood screws, which just for simplicity's sake, we'll put these as measured by the piece. I think maybe in real life it might be measured by weight. But we'll go ahead and select a category and choose components. And then here we can also select a default supplier. So a default supplier is the supplier that the purchase orders you make are going to be directed to the first time or every time you make a purchase order. If you have multiple suppliers that give the option for you to buy the same material, you could also select it manually afterwards. But if you buy from the same supplier, as in most cases, 80% of the time, then this is probably the supplier you will make your purchase order to anyway. So let's go ahead and make this our furniture crafting products supplier and add wood screws to the list. Maybe we have a reorder point of 500 units and a default purchase price of 0.10 cents per wood screw that we purchase. And then you've added this to your materials list. So if we're looking through everything again here and we want to look at specific information related to our stools, we can actually use Katana's item section and search stool and filter it out to both black and beige ones. We see that we have a default sales price, the actual cost of making those products, the profit we earn on it, and margin. Now the very cool thing about Katana is the material price always updates through time. This is because of whenever you purchase it at a certain price. If the price changes, then it will also change it in stock using moving average cost. And when you're analyzing your products in stock, you can actually have a good overview of what is the default sales price that you sell it for generally, how much does it cost you to make at this moment in time, the profit margin, as well as the actual profit. Now in this case, I actually have a problem. I clearly am selling these stools for way too low of a price, or my cost to make them is way too high. So you can go inside of here as well and take a look at this and say, look, I need to increase the cost of these, the price of these to, let's say, 100 euros a piece, $100 a piece. But then you also later realize that I forgot something in my ingredients list, and you can go back in and edit your recipe, and it turns out that you need to add your wood screws. And for the wood screws, it takes a quantity of 10 to make a single product, and that applies to every single one, both black and beige. Now everything looks pretty good to go, and we are nice and solid to make this product. So next thing we'll check out is, let's see how we're doing on our stock levels in order for us to make these products in our manufacturing system. So let's go to our stock page. Stock page is really quite useful. It has an enormous amount of information available that really is effective for companies that make to stock. So if you're a business that actually has certain inventory levels that you need to keep up to date on, the stock page that we offer gives the opportunity for the user to really know how much of a certain item is missing. So to go over the details here on the stock page for our products, we have a line item for every single product that we have, including the SKU or variant code, the name, the category which is classified for, the average cost that we have of that product available in stock. So essentially any materials that get consumed at a certain cost value, and also operations that are made and also appended to the cost of that good creates the average cost of that product in stock. And then you have a total value in stock. So this is the price per unit, and then this is the cost per unit, and then this is the total cost of that inventory item. In stock is self-explanatory. We have two pieces of this product in stock. Expected means that we have a manufacturing order that's open, and that product is expected to arrive into inventory at some given moment. When something is committed, this means that that product has been committed to a sales order. And then of course we have a reorder point here, which is the optimum level inside of your stock for this item that you should go ahead and make more of that product. And then here's the missing or excess column, which tells you if you don't have enough product to meet your commitments, factoring in both the reorder point and expected. Then if it's in a minus, then you can go ahead and make more. If it's 0 or in the plus, then it means that you have enough to sustain the current demand. To kind of give you a general overview of how this looks is you have two pieces in stock plus the expected amount minus the committed amount. So 2 plus 0 minus 1 equals 1 minus the reorder point. So 1 minus 3 equals negative 2, which means that since you're below your reorder point, you need to make additional product to put into stock. So that explains how that works and how you can actually use that to stay on top of all of your commitments to your sales, and as well as your reorder points. Moving on to the materials side, we have information here that shows also for our materials how much we have in stock. How much of the material here is in stock, how much is expected. This is different from products. Products are expected from manufacturing, but materials are expected from suppliers. So if you have an open purchase order for a certain amount of this product, then it will show here. Commitments, instead of products which have commitment to sales, materials have commitment to manufacturing. So that will also show up here in this regard. Reorder point operates in the exact same manner, and missing excess is also the exact same. So we added a new material below down here called wood screws, which we clearly do not have a variant code for, which we can open up, and let's go ahead and add a variant code, WS. Perfect. Go back to our stock page, materials. And now we see that we have a missing or excess column where we have minus 500 pieces. Now we didn't actually put the amount of in stock, but let's say that you were counting your stock before you added this material and you need to adjust it in order to make sure you have it on the current proper count. So we can create a stock adjustment to increase the current inventory of wood screws. Let's say that you do a count and you have 100 available. So you'll go inside of here, you'll do a stock adjustment, and you would say, this is initial stock. And we will select wood screws. And if you have 100 available, you would put them in as 100. Now the cost per unit that you have specified here is the default cost that you entered whenever you added the material to the system. But if you had bought these screws in the past and didn't pay 10 cents per them, but instead actually paid 20 cents for them, then this gets factored into the average cost inside of Katana's stock page. So we'll go ahead and add this, that let's say that you bought these at 20 cents instead of 10 cents, and we hit enter. Then this actually accounts that value into a stock page here in this screen over here. So we can exit out of this by selecting the X button, going back to our stock. The stock adjustment has been adjusted for and added 100 pieces of this item to your inventory. Now you see the average cost shows up here as 20 cents, just like so. Now, if you buy these products from here where we have a buy section, it'll actually auto-populate that you have 400 because you're currently missing 400 pieces in stock based on your 500 pieces reorder point and the 100 you have available. You would buy it from this particular supplier, create the purchase order, and then it will give you an expected arrival date automatically 2 weeks in Katana's case. And you can also change this manually if it, for example, you have a longer lead time on that product. Change that to the 7th of March, for example. You would create the order and you would open that order. So once that order has been created, it'll go into your purchasing section. Purchasing inside of Katana is actually located here in the buy section. So if we click in the buy section, you'll see a list of all of your purchase orders that are currently open. And these orders that are currently open are actually awaiting for arrival. So to show you how this works is we would select the item that we had just created for these furniture products here, and the wood screws that we placed an order for, we can mark them as received. When these get marked as received, and you go back to your stock page and your materials and your wood screws, you'll see that you now have 500 pieces in stock, and you can actually open up this little box to see where that movement took place. This box on the stock screen is actually what we call the inventory intel panel, and it essentially has a lot of information in it that talks about the historical movements of a certain product or material. For our case, we had the stock adjustment where we added the initial the initial quantity of this material, and then we had the purchase order where we made a purchase and marked it as received, and then that arrived as a material into Katana. There's other pieces of information here, such as expected. In our case, which is a material, it's expecting this material from a purchase order that is open with our suppliers, but there's currently none, so we don't have any here. And also committed, which means we would be committing this material to a manufacturing order. So anytime you need some more detailed historical information or any upcoming information to help you with your planning, you can go to your stock page, find the material you like, click it, open it, and get a lot of information that you will need in order to help you have a better overview of certain items and how they're working. In this example, for example, we have paint that's beige, where we have committed this material to open orders. We have an order here, which is a dining room table that's beige, that we have enough of our product in stock to supply that demand. Here we have 2 manufacturing orders where there are actually 2 open purchase orders that we're waiting on, and these are expected to arrive on the 16th of February. And then for manufacturing order number 5, on this other beige table that requires 3.5 liters, we don't have enough available stock to fulfill that demand. So that right there, when we get to our manufacturing and our production schedule, identifies a specific need. So that about covers everything from the stock page. Additionally, just to touch base on this a little bit more detail, for make to stock businesses that always keep a special amount of inventory in stock and have dedicated reorder points, this is going to be the main page where you will work from when it comes to issuing manufacturing orders. So anytime you see this color here in red, you can even go inside here and put in a minus sign and get all of the red ones. You can just sit there, make, and then put all of these particular products straight to manufacturing, and your orders are ready to go. Then this top section here is a historical list of all your stock adjustments, which you can actually like sort by from a date. Also, you can look them up by a reference number, even look them up by specific reason. So if you do stock adjustments regularly, for whatever reason, this is a good place to kind of keep an eye on where changes had taken place that required manual reconciliation of your stock levels. So going back to the buy page, in this location, this is of course where all of our open purchase orders are, PO2, 3, 4, and 5, from the various suppliers. In this case, we have 2 suppliers with 2 purchase orders open each. Shows you the total amount that you are spending and also expected arrival dates. Anytime an expected arrival date is showing up in red, it means that it's overdue, and it prompts you as the user to, hey, I need to contact those guys because that stuff should have been here a couple of days ago. So as an example, today is the 9th of February. This is the 6th of February, so it is actually behind. And that always operates perpetually and relative, so you know that it's always up to date. You can also filter by your supplier, furniture crafting products, for example, to see how much orders are related directly to that one supplier. For example, this shows you the total amount of open purchase orders that you're actually paying to this supplier. Then on the done page is a historical overview of all of your closed purchase orders that have come in. All of your purchase orders that have come in over time, you can actually filter these by the receivable date and have a clear overview of your purchasing history. Okay, moving on. On our make screen, this is your production schedule. And the production schedule in Katana is designed to help you book materials based on the priority of your manufacturing orders in queue. So a detailed overview of Katana's make page is pretty straightforward. On this list, you'll have a wide variety of different lines, and each line is its own product, from MOs, or manufacturing orders that are make to stock, or SOs, which are sales orders that are make to order, which we'll go into more detail when we get to the sell section. So for each manufacturing order that you have on this list, if it's a make to order type of manufacturing order, then it will have a customer listed. It'll show the product that's being made, the quantity of that product being made, the production time required to make it based on your recipe and operational data, and the production deadline based on the current time based on the earliest time that it can be completed from the time it was created. The production deadline can be calculated manually or automatically using our deadline configure setting here. So what this allows you to do is it allows you to estimate the weekly throughput or the total hours available for your entire operation. A lot of people, let's say if the only resources that they use for manufacturing are people or even machinery, maybe a machine can run 100 hours. If you have one machine and one person running an entire factory, you might have a machine that has 50 man hours per week and a human that has 50 man hours per week. So you can set your total weekly throughput to 100 hours of operation. Now by doing so, just to kind of give you a general overview, is before I changed that, it said 200 hours of operation. And so it will actually change the deadlines of production to double what they are now on the current estimates. If you see here, we have the 11th of February and the 12th and 13th and 14th based on the 200 hours of operation. If I change this, then all of these deadlines will change as well and probably actually double, or like the 11th will change to the 12th or 13th as the earliest date because we've cut our capacity in half. So I'll show you real quick. So you see all of these have just changed or updated a little bit. I can finish this one today with 15 hours, but these other couple here had all increased by an extra day or two. So the throughput of our factory based on the production times that are specified here in our product recipes indicates how these actual production deadlines get calculated. The other side of things when it comes to Katana and material availability is this column here. What this does is it actually shows you, do you have the materials available in stock to make that product if it's the first thing you make? So what Katana does is we have a rank and file system where any manufacturing order based on its rank in the queue, so this being your queue or this line of manufacturing orders, the ones closest to the top get to actually book the available stock first. So if you have enough material in stock, this particular manufacturing order here will get the materials in stock first, whereas other ones would be less likely to do so. I'll give you an example that will be interesting is if you see this beige table below and this beige one here at the top. When I move this one to the very top, which has two pieces, and this one, which is first, has one piece, you can see that the status changed. They both used basically the same materials, but the one that was at the bottom, the beige dining room table, had two pieces instead of one piece, which requires more materials. Now, there was enough material in stock to make one piece, but whenever you increase the same material need times two, we clearly don't have enough. But what we do have is we have an expected date, which means that we do have some material on its way. So let's go ahead and actually look at this manufacturing order. So for the details, it's related to the paint, the beige paint that we need, which requires 8 liters in order to make these 2 big dining room tables. Now, because it's expected, it shows that it's going to arrive at a certain day, which would be here. So we have 4 liters in stock, which is enough to make one, and then here's the other 4 liters, which is coming, and it will be here soon. So if we open up this purchase order, and we see it's actually for 6 liters, and we mark that as received, what actually happens? Go back to our make page, and then so now since we have received it and moved it up to the top, we have enough of this material in stock to make those 2 dining room tables. So what's the problem with the one below it? Let's take a look. So in this manufacturing order, it still requires additional 4 liters, but we don't have available. So how is that possible? So when we click on this material and we see this inventory intel to see where this material is committed, we see it's committed to the very first one and also the second one that was in the queue. But it can only sustain 2 liters of the amount, the second one in the queue. But the other additional 2 liters that are needed to finish this one makes it not available. Therefore, that's why you receive the status. And we have to receive an additional 3.5 liters of this beige paint in order to be able to fulfill the second item in the queue. So let's take a closer look again. So as you're looking at your queue and trying to figure out what you need to do next, you realize you're very low on beige paint, but maybe you need to switch some things around. So instead of dealing with that particular order there, perhaps you might want to take another beige item like this coffee table and move it up the list. Now you see it updates and it shows that you have enough material in stock to make the one item below it be able to be produced in the near term. And that's how Katana updates all of its material bookings and keeps you in the loop of what you have to do in order to fulfill the needs of your manufacturing. So if we open up this same order here and we decide that we want to buy this beige paint, we can go ahead and order 3.5 liters. We can select our supplier, the paint supplier, create and open the order. And then just for the sake of this presentation, I'll go ahead and mark it as received. And then as you can see, because of the rank in that file, all of these items here for the beige paint have been fulfilled to meet the needs of your manufacturing material requirements. You can then go here and mark it as a work in progress, also mark it as a work in progress, and this is a work in progress. So what happens whenever all of these items are now work in progress, you have to still change some priorities when it comes to your operations. Well, the way that Katana's queuing system works is it enables you to move something around to also adjust for changes for your workshop team. So let's say, for example, that we have a production deadline for this order here to be completed on the 14th. But that customer, Jack Carpets, contacts us and says, hey guys, I would like my order to be finished as soon as possible. And then you're like, okay, Jack, no problem. I have to shift some things around in my workshop, but let's go ahead and make that work. So if we look at Jack Carpets here and the sales order that it's linked to, you can see that it's number 5 in the queue. If we go to our sales page, because that sales order is actually linked to manufacturing, we will see that Jack Carpets work in progress here is lower in the queue, but it gets pushed up to a higher priority. So SO3 goes from the 3rd rank to the 1st rank on the sales screen. Now watch what happens to SO3 on the make screen. So sales order 3 goes also directly to the top and becomes number 1 priority based on a sales call that came from your customer. That particular move that happened from sales trans-shifted over to your manufacturing, and that made it the priority that needed to be done first. Taking this a step further, what happens to the tasks too is that the tasks related to that order put SO3 as the first items that are available for each resource. So SO3 has to work on, John has to work first on the assembly operation. So if we look at the assembly operation, that applies to SO3 first before anything. If we look at a cutting operation, whoever's managing the cutting, okay, so there are no cutting for that particular one. And last one is gluing. You'll see SO3 for Mary, who's responsible for gluing. That's also her first task. So as a general idea of how the connection between sales, manufacturing, and operations are interrelated, when a sales order that's linked to a manufacturing order changes in priority based on customer need or customer demand, you can actually move it up in the rank. And then when it moves up in the rank, it also does the same on the manufacturing order, which also gets translated to the tasks that are related to the operations for that order. And so the same people that are working on SO3, you can go in here and say SO3, sales order number 3. You'll see that John, first task, Mary, first task, Chris, first task. And all of them can go in there, work on their specific SO3 items, complete them. And when all of the tasks for SO3 is completed, then what happens here in our Katana page is actually you don't see SO3 here anymore, because all of the tasks that have been completed for SO3 have been transferred to the completed manufacturing order section here, and the production is listed as done. That also transcribes to your sell page, where you'll see that Jack Carpet's product availability is in stock, material availability has been processed, production is complete, and then you can decide right then to pack it up and then mark it as delivered. So what Katana has inside of its built-in software platform is the ability to differentiate between make-to-stock and make-to-order type of manufacturing activities. So if you have a sales order that comes in and you don't have the product in stock, you can select it as make-to-order. It will book materials directly from your material stock as opposed to your product stock or finished goods stock. So that way you can push that same sales order directly to manufacturing instead of having to make it to stock before its fulfillment. This allows you to understand the material needs that are required by the product you just made for that customer. And when priorities change for that customer, such as bringing it up to the top, you can expect that that translates over as well to manufacturing as well as tasks. So your entire team is unified on the same priority. If you have the same situation that pops up where you have no materials availability, you click into here, you buy the materials you need, you select the proper supplier, you create and open the order. When the products arrive, they get marked as received. The manufacturing order gets updated to materials availability in stock. Your task list goes here, SO-6. John starts his work. Mary starts her work. And then all of these guys that are working on the floor, you can take a look at that information related to the order. You'll see that most everything has been done. Once it's completed, everything is completed here. And then you can tell Mary, hey Mary, I have your products ready. We shipped them out today. And that in a nutshell is essentially how Katana works. To go over more details regarding what happens after you do these things is some of the reporting features that Katana also provides to users that are using it for their manufacturing. So for sales, we have some basic sales reporting here as well. So let's say we have these 3 customers that have their products been delivered. We see here the total amount that we made off of them, how much we paid in tax, the cost of goods sold, which is both the material and operations costs that go into the products that got sold, the profit we made off of that from the COGS. And if you need some more specific reporting criteria, you can select a specified date range, which works better when you have many, many more completed sales orders. If you need to, you can export this information. And when you export it, it'll actually provide it in a CSV that can be imported into an accounting software like Xero, for example. On our make page, in the done section, we have also basic reporting available here too, where you can not only identify the order and the customer and the product, but you see the quantity that were made, how much was made from materials, how much was made from subassemblies, the cost related to subassemblies, the cost for operations, and then the total. Now what's really cool about this part between materials and subassemblies is during the setup process, which we did at the beginning of this video, where you make a product, you can actually use another product inside of the recipe of a product you're adding. And this is what we call a subassembly in Katana. This way, that cost of that product that gets added becomes a subassembly cost, and then that gets added to the additional material costs. This enables you to, this reduces the probability of double counting, which can happen a lot if you are making subassemblies and using Excel sheets, for example. So that reduces that need or that problem. Then also your incorporated operations cost, then the total of how much it costs to make, and then also the completion date. So that can be filtered out by month or sorted by day, current month, last month, or a custom date range. On the purchase order page, you can also go to your open purchase orders and done purchase orders and export these as well. These can be imported into Xero accounting software and used to track your expenses. On the stock page, you can export your existing stock counts. So that way, in case you need to take something to go do a stock count inside of your warehouse, you can use this sheet to true up your stock, and then come back and make a stock adjustment to make sure that everything is reconciled. The items list, as we went over before, always track the moving average cost of your items in inventory, and you can then calculate your profit and margin off of those. On the contacts page, which we didn't go into too much detail, what happens here is when you have a customer from a sales order, they will get added to here with their email address, and you could also input a phone number and a comment about them. It's very, very basic. We will expand this later in the future to be more inclusive of having additional information that, like, such as delivery addresses, if you're making invoices, for example, and also other very important information. On the supplier side, this is also very basic. We have the name of the supplier, email, a comment about them. When we are expanding this, we will also incorporate the opportunity for you to place a default lead time with that supplier so we can estimate your purchases better. Also, MOQs on materials is something we will incorporate, and we also have the ability in the future to consolidate and aggregate supplier purchase orders. So if you click the buy button multiple times, but it all goes to the same supplier, you can actually aggregate this purchase order into a single document and send it out. So a lot of new features coming up, and Katana will have a lot more functionalities that will be very, very useful and effective. The other sections that we went over this bit. So yeah, that's pretty much Katana in a nutshell, and it should give a pretty solid overview of how everything works. So the idea of this video is to essentially help you understand that Katana mostly operates with the idea in mind that you can sell, make, and ship everything from a single dashboard, all within a single app. So when your sales come in, it creates a pull system that identifies if you can pull in product from inventory, if you need to pull in materials from manufacturing. It gives you the production status as well as the delivery status. So we will be building out additional integrations with softwares like ShipStation, WooCommerce for e-commerce sales, as well as we will be integrating with perhaps Xero in the future. And we have a lot of new things that are in development and on the way. Anyway, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I certainly hope it was helpful. It's very long, but again, it's also very in-depth. If you have questions about Katana in general, you can send us an email at support@katanamrp.com. You can also visit our website, katanamrp.com, and check our support portal for some interesting articles, and also our marketing blog. They have quite a lot of interesting articles as well there. Anyway, that's it. Me signing out. Happy manufacturing from the team here at Katana, and best of luck to you in getting set up and getting started.